Right, hello guys, welcome to another video. Now today we're doing game week 10, and if we look back quickly at game week 9 results, I'm doing the same scoring system as Fogden and Fogdad use, which is, 1 point for the right result and 3 for the right score. So I ended up getting 4 points, which is very low. And I think in fairness to me, a lot of those results were 1 goal off. For starters, the Chelsea v Newcastle game and the Spurs Man City one, I both guessed they would be 2-1. They were both 2-0, so that would have been 6 points instead of 2 straight away there. Now moving on to game week 10, let's hope I can do a lot better this time round. And we start Crystal Palace versus Newcastle. So both suffered defeat on the weekend. Now Palace are without Zaha for now as he's got coronavirus, and they played their first game without him against Burnley for the last time that I can remember for a very long time, and it did show. Now I think going forward they've still got decent players. They've got Batshuayi who's played for Dortmund and still managed to play a few games for Chelsea too. The fact is strikers like I know of my team Sheffield United need chances, and if you can't create them then they're not going to get them. And I think that's what I saw against Burnley, that because of Zaha they didn't have any creativity. They've got Easy of course, but maybe he needs a bit more time to acclimatise and maybe he can fill the void for now while Zaha's recovering. But I just get the feeling if Easy doesn't step up to the plate creatively then they're not really going to do much better in this game. Now both teams are comfortably in the mid-table at the moment, and after 9 games they're both 2 points apart, which is pretty respectable form. And I think for a team like Newcastle it's quite hard to sort of understand their ambitions, because with the team they've got it's a very decent team and it's not good enough obviously to get in the top 6. They're comfortable not going down, so what are their ambitions? You can't really just settle on a mid-table place. So I guess for them it's an ambition of trying to win a cup this season, because they were close last year. They got to the quarter-finals. Since they're both 2 mid-table teams, I think they'll both be very happy with the draw, and I'm going 1-1. Now going on to Brighton versus Liverpool. Brighton got their second win of the season last time out against Aston Villa, and against this very tricky Villa side they managed to get the winner through Danny Welbeck. And as a player who's always been very decent in his career in fairness, but has had so many injuries in the past that it's just stopped any run of form he's had for any of his teams. But he wasn't last game. He looked absolutely class. He didn't just attack, he also defended, and he was putting everything into the game, and he was one of the massive reasons why they won the game. I think if they can put him on the ball, then against a makeshift Liverpool defence he could give a lot of problems to them. Now I think Liverpool, there was a bit of up and down this week. They surprised me how good they were against Leicester, but then it kind of was disappointing after that with the game against Atalanta. In fairness to them, they did need to rest a few players and they had a very unexperienced defence, so that showed against a very attacking Atalanta team. But now they're going to have Milner most likely back at right back and Fabinho at centre back, and I believe Robertson at left back. I'm not sure if he's injured or if he was just rested against Atalanta. If they have him back, that's a massive addition as well. And with that defence, you'd think they'd be solid enough to see out Brighton, which is why I'm going for a 2-0 Liverpool win. So Man City versus Burnley now. It's pretty easy to see how bad City's season is compared to their usual standards. It's a nightmare for Pep as well. It's his worst start as a manager, and City are breaking records this season, but all for the wrong reasons. When you look at their team man for man, it looks very decent. Ederson, he's a great keeper. I think he's easily one of the best in the league. The defenders, Walker's having the form of his life. Diaz and Laporte are like a decent partnership, and even Cancelo, who's a right-footed player and a right back by trade, has almost revitalised his career as a left back and looks very decent there as well. And it also says about how they don't have a decent left back, which maybe shows the flaws in the system, but nonetheless he's doing very well there, just as Walker is on the other side. Go further up the pitch as well, Rodri's having a great season as well. He looks very solid and sort of clears a lot of the ball up. And then you look in front of Rodri, you've got Foden and De Bruyne. What do we need to say? Obviously an incredible player, speaks for himself. Foden just starting his career very hungry and looks good whenever he plays as well, and I think he's obviously got a great career ahead of him, as we all know. Going forward, you've got Bernardo Silva and Sterling on the wings, and they just are both incredible as well. Sterling not having a great season so far, but still look very good against us. And Bernardo Silva hasn't really been as good as I thought he could be as well this season, but a lot of time left in the season. Now going up front, I think this is where the problem lies. You've got Gabriel Jesus, who's playing this season, and Ferran Torres, who's doing well, even though he's a winger, and neither of them are sort of clinical goal scorers. Granted, Torres got a hat-trick against Germany, but it's a different competition, it's a different competitiveness, and I think they just miss Aguero a lot this season, and they're having a lot of chances made, as we saw in the Tottenham game, but they're just not converting them, and I think that's why they're struggling so much this season. But Aguero's starting to come back. He's on the bench against Spurs, so against the Burnley team, which are very defensive and give you a lot of chances, can they make them pay for that? For Burnley, spirits would have risen for the first time in a long time this season after getting their first win, but I think they're going to struggle against the City side, and especially playing away. I think it's going to be very hard for them to stop City converting these chances, let alone creating them in the first place. So unless they can master the art of counter-attacking play to perfection, I think it's going to be very tricky for them to get anything out of this game, and that's why I'm going to go 3-0 City. Everton versus Leeds next. Now Everton got back to winning ways on Sunday against Fulham, but I think they made it hard for themselves that needed to be. Now Leeds got a draw against Arsenal, and to be honest, they should be quite disappointed. Arsenal weren't great, and they had an extra man on the pitch for almost the whole half, and they didn't make the most of it. They hit the bar, granted, but there weren't really enough clear-cut chances they made. I think in this match, Richarlison's going to be key, which he has been for every Everton game he's played in, honestly, and that's why I'm going to go 2-1 Everton. West Brom versus Sheffield United. Right, so we'll start with our opponents. Now, this is a big game at the bottom of the table. Now, West Brom lost out last week to Man United away in controversial circumstances, some may believe. In my eyes, I saw it differently. I think it was quite fair decisions, though. For the West Brom alleged penalty, he got the ball first and then got the man. So I think in the rules of the game, that's fair and that's the right decision. Obviously, it would be otherwise. VAR check would have given it otherwise. Going for the Man United penalties, yes, it was a penalty. And then, it's simple. If the keeper jumps over the line, then he's not following the rules, so it has to be retaken. So as harsh as it seemed, it was fair. And I know because they seem to get a lot of penalties, it kind of adds to the toll and makes it seem more suspicious. But I think it's just the way football is. And I know most of it's banter, but I just thought I'd clear it out anyway in case anyone took it too seriously, like I did. Now, West Brom were one of two teams not to get a win this season after Burnley got theirs on Monday. They brought in Grant from Huddersfield, who bagged them in the Championship. Obviously, it's a big step up, and will he make it this season? They also have Robinson, who used to play for us, and he's only scored 2 goals this season against Chelsea. But you know how football works. He's probably like to score against us as well. Now, the only other team not to win this season is my team, Sheffield United, as well. So you can imagine one of these two teams is finally going to get the win on Saturday. However, when you compare us to West Brom, we've got 2 less points to show from our start so far. Now, I've spoken to a lot of neutral fans and a lot of friends, and they all seem to think that we're written off already. And from a mutual perspective, I can definitely see that. I mean, you're not giving yourselves a good start when you've got 1 point in 9 games. Now, I personally do think we can stay up. Me being a fan is always going to be optimistic, but a lot of things do need to change and very quickly. And getting a win against West Brom is a big step towards that. It's obviously going to raise confidence, getting your first win of the season. If we don't win, though, questions definitely have to be asked about Wilder. I mean, he's obviously done so much for the club. Everything takes its toll and everything has a breaking point. And getting 1 point after 10 games, I know people are arguing that it's so early on in the season, but if he can't beat West Brom, we didn't deserve to get a point against Fulham either. Then we haven't deserved a single point this season. And like I mentioned in previous videos, if we don't win today, I can't really imagine who we're going to beat this season. And, we're caught through the season, so going on averages, we're going to get 4 points on average this season, which is going to break Derby's record by a country mile. So we'll be more laughing stock. We'll be meme of the century or something. So if we actually have any pride about the club, we've probably got to change something. But saying that, I don't really know who we'd swap Wilder with, because it's a very hard replacement for a system which is very unique, and I don't think many managers will play. So I think we've just got to try and prioritise, which I'm sure the chairman is doing. So fair play to him, because I think he hasn't really done a foot wrong for the club since he's taken full management. Is we just try and get Wilder and just try and tell him to sort it out, because he's just not the same person he was last year. He doesn't look like he's determined as much. He looks a little lost on the touchline. I don't know if he's got any personal problems. If he does, then fair enough, and obviously that's totally understandable. But considering all that's been said, you just really wonder what's going on with him, because he doesn't look the same manager he was last year, which is why we're being affected so much. Now, I think it needs to be put in perspective how big a defeat this would be as well, because we're bottom of the league, of course, and we're 2 points off West Brom. But if we lose to West Brom, it's a 6 pointer, obviously. So we'll be 5 points behind them. So that's a massive task already. So it means we've got to win 2 games, and West Brom have got to lose those 2 just to go above them, which puts the second bottom, let alone getting out the bottom 3. So like I previously said in a video quite a while ago now, that Fulham was our biggest game of the season so far. West Brom is now the biggest game of the season so far. The difference is I don't feel any nerves. I think going into the Fulham game, I had expectation we'd still finish mid-table at that point, but now after what I've seen recently, I think those are gone. It's just about trying to stay up. So I think it's a bigger game, but I'm less nervous because my expectations have lowered a lot. It's a very obvious point, but a lot of players haven't stepped up to the same level as last season, and we're feeling the full effect of that. Now, a stat that actually goes a lot under the radar is Ramsdale and his goal scoring. He's actually our third top goal scorer, so people are giving a lot of stick this season, but he's actually done quite well in front of goal. So, I'm just saying, if the Ballon d'Or wasn't cancelled, then maybe he would have been up contentions. Being a goalkeeper and having that good a goal scoring record, it's unbelievable. I think another consideration is we've got 3 of our biggest players arguably who are out at the moment. We had Jack O'Connell, who's going to be out for most of the season by the looks of it. Fleck and Mousse has been out for most of the season so far, who are both coming back now. So it looks like Fleck will probably play against West Brom, which is a big addition. And I think Mousse has just come back now, so he's likely not to start, but probably be on the bench. And if he was to start, I'd love to see him and Burke play up top, but it's probably not going to happen. Now, considering that, I think it means that we're going to have to play someone else up top instead. So I think Burke's an incredible player, and especially away from home is a very good one. So I would like to see him, and I know there's a lot of criticism about McBurney, but he doesn't really have anyone alongside him to create much. And maybe if we had Burke next to him, he could, run and actually collect the ball and give him chances. We saw McBurney really had one chance recently against West Ham, and his decent pass by Brewster, and he had one chance and one decent shot, and he was with his weaker foot, so you can't really expect him to do too much more than he did with it, and give him more chances and hopefully get more goals. Simple as that. Going into other changes along the pitch, I'd like to see someone else going at left wing back, whether it be Stevens or Osborne, but I'm guessing it'd probably be Osborne and Stevens slot back at the centre back place, and then probably putting Paddy on instead of Norwood as well. Be a bit more solid going away from home. And finishing on, I still believe, and that's why I'm going to go 2-1 win to Sheffield United. And the next game is Southampton versus Man United. Now, Southampton drew last time out. They probably should have got the win. They had 2 chances from Walcott, one converted, one didn't. If they'd have converted both, probably would have been out of sight. But Wolves only had 1 goal to get back, and they got it back, and they got the draw in the end. Now, 11 attempts in the Premier League, Southampton have only beaten Man United twice. And the last time that happened, that was 4 years ago, and the one before that was just a year before that as well. And they're both at Old Trafford as well. But in fairness, the other 5 have finished as draws, so it has been close encounters. Worrying for Southampton, the last time they actually beat Man United at home was in 2003. As for Man United, as we all know, they've been very convincing in the Champions League in all fairness, but it's been the Premier League where it's been the questionable worries for them. Like I mentioned in the previous prediction with the West Brom game, they very narrowly got through in the end, and if it wasn't for VAR to help them out, it probably would have gone a different way. And it took a retaken penalty to secure victory for them. So the question is, could a more troubling team ask more questions of Man United? Well, saying that, they've actually won every game they played away this season, so you could maybe say it wouldn't actually, and that's why I'm going to go 1-0 Man United win. Chelsea versus Spurs. I think once again Spurs are in game of the week, and I think everyone will be looking forward to this one. Now, it's without question now that Chelsea are finding their feet in the Premier League. Zeke's been key for them this season without question, and that's going to have to happen again for him against Spurs. There's not much that's going to be given away by Spurs in this game, I can imagine. Now, another player which is like he's been there for years for them is Mendy. He looks very comfortable in net, and he looks like he's been playing there for years. Now, for all the talk of Chelsea having a bad start, they actually only lost 1 game all season, and that was against Liverpool, who were reigning champions, and they had to play one half with 10 men as well. Now, the game is Master versus Apprentice, of course, and who's going to come up on top. They've only had 2 encounters in the past, and Lampard won both of them. Now, another one I forgot to mention, and only just remembered, is that Lampard also beat Mourinho in the Carabao Cup when he was at Derby as well in his first season, so he's actually won 3 times in 3 encounters. So can Mourinho finally stop this one-sided track record? But Spurs are unrecognisable from last season, and considering how Spurs, especially at Stamford Bridge, had to play with a very makeshift team, it could be a very different game this time around, which I imagine it will be. And since the defeat to Everton the first game of the season, they looked a completely different side, and they've done brilliantly, and that was shown once again the victory against City on the weekend. City simply couldn't break them down. I feel there's going to be a similar scenario for Chelsea on the weekend, except it's going to be less of a defensive impetus, and they'll probably be more attacking than they were against City. They also managed to win 4-0 on Thursday as well, with the second choice striker getting a brace as well, so it looks like goals are going all around the team and spirits are very high. I mentioned in my previous videos how I think both of these teams have an outside chance of winning the Premier League. I think this will be a great game to show who has a bigger chance, and I think considering what I've seen so far, it's going to be Spurs, and I'm predicting the same score for Spurs as I did last week, and I'm going 2-1 Spurs. Arsenal versus Wolves now. Arsenal have not been great recently, and Pepe did nothing at all to help that last week. In fairness to Arsenal, though, a lot of people slagged them off for holding out for a draw against Leeds, but we're playing with 10 men against a team that like to use the ball a lot and pass it a lot. It was a very decent result, I think, for Arsenal, and they also had a few chances where they could have nicked it as well. Now, can they turn it around on Sunday against Wolves? Now, in terms of statistics, if you ever needed a better team to play for Arsenal, there wouldn't be one better than Wolves. Now, Wolves only ever beaten Arsenal home and away 2 times in 41 years, so unless I jinx that record for them, it looks like it's a pretty nailed on result. However, for Wolves, the team has changed a lot in the last 3 years, and one of those wins was in 2019 for Wolves as well. Wolves did manage to pick up a late equaliser against Southampton on Monday. I still think, like I mentioned last week, that they haven't really hit the heights I thought they would hit, but in fairness, I think they are quite high, especially considering how well they did in the Europa League last year. And from what I've seen from them, I may be very wrong about this, where every individual is key to the team, and they seem to play the same 11 quite consistently, so if one player is not doing the best, then it kind of knocks onto the rest. And I think if things start to click into gear, then it sort of makes the whole team improve a lot more, and I think they definitely could get 6th place this year, but they do have to change quite a bit to get there. And playing against a team which is likely to be in the Europa League places alongside them, this is a great time to show those intentions. Now, in terms of stats at home, Wolves have conceded a goal per game so far, but they've also scored just over a goal per game as well, so it looks destined to be a draw, doesn't it? Well, that's what I'm going for. I don't think the ratio is going to be harmed at all for this game, and I'm going to go 1-1 draw. Leicester City versus Fulham. Leicester really disappointed me how they played against Liverpool. I thought they could have given them a much harder game, and they had a very questionable defence that we all know, of course. They didn't really make that defence answer enough questions. However, they're still ambitious, and I think they still have big intentions for the Champions League. If not that, then especially the Europa League. Fulham going forward look decent against Everton, but that's kind of been the story of their season. They look good going forward, but they look terrible defending, so they just get outscored basically, which happened against Everton. And even though they've got a poor defence, they do actually have a very good keeper, so I do sympathise for them. And I think, like I said, there's just too many question marks at the back for them still, so that's why I'm going to go for a 2-0 Leicester City win. Moving on to the last game of the week, West Ham versus Aston Villa, the Claret and Blue derby. I think West Ham are finally starting to show how decent their team really is. I feel they've gone on the radar a lot, and also they've kind of not reached the heights they should be when you think about the money being spent and the quality of the team they have. Last time out, they got the win, and it moved them up on the table, and sort of started to give people a bit more of a sight of what they could do this season. But I think saying that, it was a win where they didn't have to do much to earn it. I think playing against my team, Sheffield United, we didn't really ask any question whatsoever, and we just really let them dictate the game and dictate the tempo. So they didn't really have to do much to earn that. And I'm playing against a Villa team who got a defeat on the weekend. They'll be looking to bounce back as well. But without Barkley for injury, could that be a big problem for them? It'll be interesting to find out. And I think that might affect them still. And they might be looking for answers to replace him. So that's why I'm going to go for a 2-0 West Ham win. Now that draws the end of the video, guys. I hope you enjoyed it. Let me know what you think will happen in the Premier League this week. And if you think my predictions were pretty accurate or if they were pretty off. If you enjoyed the video and you're new to the channel, please subscribe. It means so much to me. I wish all of you the best of luck with your teams this week. And until next time, take it easy, guys.